Ever wonder what hidden treasures lie within the walls of the Cathedral Basilica of St. Peter and Paul? Find out when we climb to the highest reaches of this magnificent structure to discover the legacy that it holds. Are football pools and card games simple games of chance, or the start of a lifelong addiction? Tonight we'll go up our alley to discover what today's teens think about the issue of gambling. All this and much more on this edition of Catholic Magazine.
With your window on your world, this is Catholic Magazine. Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Perillo.
And I'm Pat Shelton. Hello and welcome back.
On our program tonight, Gators, Gardenias, and God. What do they have in common? They're part of the Psalm of Florida, coming up later in our broadcast.
And we'll take you up our alley to find out what some of our youth think about gambling.
But first, on our program tonight, Catholic Magazine will travel to the dome of the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul as we soar to new heights in Part 2 of Legacy.
Welcome to our second edition. I'm back in the cathedral and I'm standing in front of one of the Venetian glass mosaics. This one depicts our Lord revealing his Sacred Heart to St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. The other is of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. These mosaics, which were installed in 1915, are especially interesting in that they were designed for the medium as opposed to being copied from paintings, which many were. Today I have on my jeans and my boots because we're going to take a climb and look at some other very special glass with Tim Callanan, whose family's been responsible for the beautiful stained glass in the cathedral for 4 generations. We are now above the Sacred Heart mosaic. We are in a space between the inner ceiling and the roof of the cathedral. And I'm here with Tim Callanan, whose family's been making this climb for a long time.
That's right. For 4 generations, we've been coming up here. Originally, we installed the windows, and since then, we've been restoring them. My family immigrated here from Ireland, from the Cork, Tipperary area as craftsmen, and continued on that interest by entering into the area of stained glass as apprentices and then craftsmen.
Well, craftsmanship would certainly be the term. This is a place built before power tools. The craftsmanship's extraordinary.
It just astonishes me to think what they have accomplished here as craftsmen. Everything was cut and built and formed and fitted by hand, including the lifting of all these large timbers. If you look at the large timber above that holds the roof, you can see a support that comes in that's fitted, and it's an exact cut. There's very little space between the 2 timbers, and that's quite an accomplishment.
You can see some of the pride of the workers here by their names on the wall.
It's the thing, they were so accomplished and they felt so good about their quest that their signatures are in many places here on the timbers.
Tim, we came up a really steep ladder, and for me, the main emotion was fear, but I know that this is an intense experience for you every time you come up here.
It is. I feel like it's such a gift to be able to come up here and see the jewel that these craftsmen have given to us and the church has provided through them. To think now that I can pass this on and give this to others as part of our heritage as Catholics and as Christians is really an accomplishment for me.
It's a privileged place to be. I was privileged to make the climb all the way to the dome with you last time, but not again. So I'm going to let Tim take you all the way up to the top of the dome, and I'm getting off here.
Adrian didn't make it, but right now we are in the structure itself of the dome. We're in the inside between the outer wall on my left, which provides the light source for the area, and the stained glass window on my right that is the inner wall of the dome. If we were down on the floor of the cathedral itself, we would look up and see 12 of these windows on the inner wall. The window itself is made up of a number of sections which enable the craftsman to install the window into the frame itself. It made it easier to bring it up here, and it was easier to reinforce the window. Stained glass is a unique art form in that it received its birth, its gestation in the Catholic or Christian church, and is used to this day to provide the stories, the illumination, the revelation for us. It's assembled together with lead or lead cane, and then soldered with solder and reinforced with a bar. As I had mentioned before, the craftsmen were very proud of their craft and enjoyed having the opportunity to sign their work. On the window here, we have an F. Thornley, dated March 1889. And below that, it says made by Martin Callanan stained glass, which was my great-great-uncle who originally installed these. And since we have restored them. What I'd like to do now is move through the structure itself to give you a sense of how it's constructed. And what is happening is we're going from a blank wall to a stained glass window to a blank wall again. And then another stained glass window. Every other stained glass window here has an added feature. On the bottom, in the corner, 2 ventilators or frames that open so that you can view the dome and the 12 windows that are installed in the dome. This is a great opportunity for me to be able to come and share this with everyone. For generations, my family has talked about this, and this has been what has been handed to me as a heritage, and it's a heritage for all of us. The church has provided this for us and given this to us.
Tim, it's good to be back on the ground again.
Certainly is.
The reason for that long climb to the windows, there's actually a reason behind it, and you were telling me about it earlier.
During the construction, there was concern that afterwards that if windows were lower in the church, that there may be a problem with vandalism, or the riots, the Know Nothing riots were taking place, and they were afraid that the cathedral would be set ablaze. So all the windows were put in the clear story.
Oh. Well, having seen those windows up close, one comes away not only with a sensation of the beauty, but also the work of human hands. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Well, please join us next time. We are going to see Bishop Newman's chalice and the side altars, both of which are ground level.
Gambling. How does it impact on your life? Is it fun or an obsession? Let's go up our alley to find out what our youth think about gambling.
Football pools, casinos, lottery tickets, and horse races may seem like simple games of chance, but can an ordinary lottery ticket or a simple bet on a baseball game go from innocent wager to full-blown obsession? Are sports bets and card games only a temporary phase among teenagers, or are they the start of a lifelong obsession? Gambling, its implications and impact, all tonight, up our alley.
Up Our Alley is a forum which gives Catholic youth from the Delaware Valley an opportunity for expression and education through discussion. Now let's join Sue and her friends in the alley.
Hello again, and thanks for joining us up our alley. I'm your host, Sue Toma. Joining us tonight are our guests. First, we have Mr. Ed Looney, a compulsive gambling counselor and the Deputy Director of the Council of Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay, sitting to my left are Monica Paulina and Dina Brooks from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. We also have Kim Graham from the Archdiocese of Philadelphia and Greg Weber from Camden, and PJ Kelly from Philadelphia, and last but not least, Tim Lowry from the Diocese of Camden. Thanks everybody for being with us. It's been called the major obsession of the 90s and the primary form of recreation for teenagers in the United States. It uses words like round robin, nickel line, and hit. Its appeal is so great that it can cause you to lie, cheat, steal, and even pawn belongings for cash. Use of alcohol and drugs is common, but they are secondary to the real addiction. The addiction is gambling, and its unsuspecting victims are teenagers. But can a couple of hands of cards or a simple bet on a baseball or football game be the start of a lifelong obsession for teenagers? Let's find out. I'll open it up. What do you guys think? What, in your eyes, constitutes gambling? Is it just a football pool, a simple bet on a football game, or a lottery ticket, or do you think it's something more than that?
Well, it can start from the beginning. It can start from anything, something very little, from playing cards and throwing out some money, and then it can get involved and go into the casinos and get in way blown out situations.
But with teenagers, it's more of like you're more restricted to like higher forms of like gambling. You can't like go to a casino
Because of the age of casinos.
So it's really more of a card games and football pools.
And as soon as you hit that age limit, you are free to do whatever you want, and the freedom, I guess, overwhelms people.
Okay, when you say age limit, are you talking 21?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're underage, you're kind of limited as to what you can do, but once you hit
Restricted.
that 21, it's like you're an
Then
adult.
You're just free to do whatever you want. You can just go out and go to the casinos and be allowed in. You're not
Okay.
restricted to any like smaller forms like lottery tickets. You can't go out and buy a lottery ticket to be 18.
Okay.
So
Do you consider lottery tickets gambling?
Well, it's a chance, and that's a gamble, I guess.
Okay. Football pools?
Not really. I don't know. I just see it as just a football pool.
Just a simple game.
Mhm.
Okay. What do the rest of you think?
I think that that football pools and like card parties, it just becomes so common that it just starts to build up from there. I mean, my friends have card parties, and all I hear about in school, like after the football games, oh, I had money on this pool and I had money on that pool, and that's how it starts. It just starts out little and just gets bigger.
Okay. Okay. How about going to play video games in the arcade? Do you consider that? Could it be a form of addiction, like with a lottery ticket or a football pool?
Yeah, because you just keep putting your money in that machine and it's eating it up. Because
Sometimes-
you're just so addicted, you just want to do better and better until you win the game. And you're just addicted because you just keep on to play and play.
Okay, so it's more of it's the thrill of just the whole process of it
Mm-hmm.
rather than the outcome.
Right.
Some kids spend all day in the arcade, and they could spend like $10 of like their allowance just on arcade games. I mean, that's stupid. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah, but then you gotta go with saying that anything you pay money for or a form of entertainment is gambling, and I feel video games and football pools is a form of entertainment. It can get addictive, but you gotta know the limit, and I really think that it's just entertainment because, like I say, I use football pools, play video games. Everybody plays video games, and it's entertainment. It can get addictive, but really more it's entertainment, I would think.
What if somebody doesn't know the limit of an arcade game or a pool gamble or something like that? Then what do you do? I mean, who do you turn to? Because no one knows when it's going to get too far out of hand. And then by that time, if it gets too far out of hand, there's no way of stopping it. So, I mean, what are we supposed to do?
As far as video games?
Yeah, and like even football pools and stuff like that. Because I mean, it's just, to me, it's just like a waste of money. Because you're throwing away a lot of money that could be put to something else.
Okay, but if you can't help yourself, then what do you think you should do? If you don't consider it in your mind going to the video arcade as gambling.
Well, I mean, you should know when to stop. I mean, if 50 cents is too much to put into an arcade, then you should just automatically stop and just walk away from it.
So in other words, you think you should set your limit before you actually go in there?
Right.
Like, I'm only going to go in and spend $5 today.
Yeah.
But I think most people don't realize when they get on that roll and they keep winning and winning, they just want it more. It's just like drugs, you just can't stop.
I was going to say, it's almost like it's a drug where you have to get more and more and more each time until you feel satisfied.
Yeah, but with like smaller gamblings, there's not really much of a thing to shoot for. Like you don't have anything, like there's usually should be a drive, like to get you to keep putting money into it.
I think the drive is just you wanting to win. I mean, everybody likes to win, and I think that's the only reason why you do it is just to get that really good feeling that you won, and you're the only person that won it, and you know that you did, like you got there all by yourself, you won that thing.
Okay, well, when you win in any kind of gambling, there has to be a payoff. There's usually money.
Yeah, but not in, like the smaller forms. I don't see how it's much of a.
When you say smaller forms, do you mean like arcade
like
games?
Like football pools, $2, and it's not that much. And you don't really see that, that much. And when the payoff comes, it keeps you going more, but the more isn't that much.
Okay.
You can't.
Right. What would you say?
Well, I think that we find out that young people start gambling very early. The compulsive gamblers are the ones we're concerned about. And they don't look too much different. I think the audience, the people here on the stage know a little bit about compulsive gambling. What happens is that when they're 11 or 12 years old, something different happens to the compulsive gambler. They get more excited about it. They usually have a big winner. They're usually very lucky at things. We find most of them are athletes. The kids that play football, basketball, baseball. And if they're female gamblers, those are people that are into sports also. Very competitive in nature. They don't like to lose. We find that about 60 to 70% of the young people who gamble are going to be okay. They're going to go through just like they're drinking in the drug stages. They're going to try these things and they're going to get on with their life. But there's another percentage, we think about 15 or 20% are going to get into deep trouble. And 5% of those are what they call compulsive gamblers. Now, these people are much like drug addicts and alcoholics. They can't stop by their own with willpower. They may go for a while, but they'll go right back to it. It's not a matter of not knowing that it's good for them or bad for them, that they can't win. They just can't stop without some kind of treatment. We're seeing an explosion of gambling in our country. We see an explosion of the next two states, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Tremendous amount of legal gambling. PJ talked about young people can't gamble until they're 21, but yet we're finding in the casino floors last year 21,000 were taken off the floor gambling. These are young people, and they get the free drinks over there, so you have a double problem going with the young people. So it's a big problem, and it's starting to erupt in the schools. Problem that we have, Sue, is that there's no education about it. You know, in most of the schools, you get a great education. You guys learn about alcohol and drugs from kindergarten right up into high school. By the time you're in high school, you're an expert on what you're putting into your body. You don't know about compulsive gambling. There's a certain amount of people that can't handle it. And it's going to be just as devastating to those people who are compulsive gamblers as it is to the drug addicts, because they need money, and they'll do criminal activity. They screw up their whole college things. We have people that are very gifted athletes that get into gambling, and because of this obsession, they don't want to go to school. They just can't do that. They shoot down Atlantic City, or they are betting into with bookmakers and stuff like that.
Can gambling start, compulsive gambling, can it start with just a simple football pool or a lottery?
It can, because we don't know. We find out the youngster that gambles, that it becomes a compulsive gambler. Many times there's an addiction in their family. Their dad is a gambler, their mom is a gambler. We see that type of thing. They're influenced, they learn early in life to escape from reality. That's what these people do. Addictions are really an escape from reality. So when they have pressure of any kind, it seems that they do their addiction. So they learn the same thing. When you have pressure with money, you escape into this dream world of gambling, trying to get something for nothing, which is, there's a moral aspect at it. Even we could look at that too. It's something for nothing. It's something without any effort, which is against really what we're trying to teach young people, to earn it, work hard, and struggle for it, and have some goals. But gambling is just the opposite. It's something for nothing, a quick fix, and to get something.
Would you guys consider any type of fundraising chances at school? Would you consider that gambling?
Yes, but it's put to a good use. I mean, it may be addictive, but they're going to stop it if it does get out of control.
I mean, you can't really continue it. It ends because it's directed by the school, and it has an end, so you really can't start it back up again.
So it's a one-time thing, and you don't think it actually that
it's not really going to
constitute gambling.
So we've gone to schools and high schools. We do speaking engagements to about 50 high schools in the last 2 years, and we put on programs because there is no other education. I walked in one school up in middle New Jersey, and they have casino nights, seniors only. And they had play money, but they were bringing money. They put up so much money, and they got fake money, and they could gamble. I mean, this kind of a message from educators is really like, they don't understand it, that some of these people are getting hooked into gambling, and they're really, condoning this type of thing. So there's an education process that has to go on, even within our schools.
Do you guys think any kind of gambling is wrong or immoral, or are there certain, like you said, the fundraising chances, you would consider that an okay gamble? Is there anything else that you would consider an okay gamble? Or you wouldn't consider it gambling?
I just think that the basic gambling is especially like casinos, and not really the arcade, because I know people that try to sneak into the casinos and try to win stuff, and they basically always get caught on the floor, and they'll be taken out. But I mean, what's the big risk in trying to run in there when you're just going to get thrown out? Just wait until your age, until you can experience it.
Do you think it's the thrill of just, look, I got in?
Yeah, the thrill of winning and having loud music and the loud bells going off and stuff like that, and the excitement just gets all around you, and then you just get all wrapped up in it.
Is that, among teenagers, is that a popular form of gambling at this point? What is the most popular form of gambling among teenagers? Is it football pools, or is it the casinos? Or
football pools.
Football pools?
So 5 years ago, we did a study in New Jersey, and it was card playing was #1. Now we did a survey, and it's illegal sports betting on football tickets, which is actually organized crime control. This money ends up in organized crime. So it's something that's illegal, #1, and yet a lot of teachers even look the other way. This is something that they should look at. We had a baseball coach that after a presentation, he came up and he says, I'm embarrassed. I said, what are you embarrassed for? He says, I take the football tickets from the kids myself. I never realized there was anything wrong with it. So they heighten the awareness that this is a problem, and certain forms of gambling are illegal. It shouldn't be done and shouldn't be promoted.
Okay. What do you guys think, should schools enforce some kind of a disciplinary policy or action against teenagers or students that they find gambling or doing football pools in school?
Well, there's not really much they can do about it. I mean, no matter what, the kids, if they want to bet, they're going to bet on it. Either if it's at home or at school, they're still like allowed to do it.
You pick up a telephone and make a bet nowadays. I mean, it's hard to control. It's out of control. It's hard to control, and you can't really, disciplinary action against it because it's basically it's impossible really to do that.
Okay.
A lot of schools are starting to put some kind of a discipline program in it because there's been 14 investigations in the state of New Jersey alone last year on illegal activity in high schools, okay? So these are some of the things that happened. I had a whole freshman baseball team up in Bergen County that were disciplined because they're playing cards on premise. So there's a lot of problems going right on in the schools, and we have to do something about that. Legislators are another thing. They're putting in more forms of gambling that are open up. Sports betting is on the horizon. There's also video poker machines that are looking for new ways to raise money, easy ways to raise money, but there's no money put in for treatment. And this is another thing they have to start doing.
Okay. In about the 30 seconds we have left, what can teens do if they think they have a gambling problem?
We have a 1-800 gambling number, which is be flashed on the screen at the end. And they can call that, and there'll be a counselor. Somebody can talk to them about them. If they're involved with the bookmaker and they owe money and they're desperately frightened, there's a way that people on the end of the phone can tell them how to handle that. There's meetings of Gamblers Anonymous. There's also Young Gamblers Anonymous meetings now available, and they can call and get that help.
Just a few signs of gambling,
If you're a parent, if you watch the Friday night card games, you look at your telephone bill and see if there are calls to sports phones. If the youngster has an unusual amount of money with them, if he's buying some kind of material things and not accountable for money in some manner, or his time is away from home 2-3 hours, he might be sneaking into a racetrack or going down to the Atlantic City casinos.
Okay, good information. I want to thank all you guys for being with us tonight in the eye. I want to thank Mr. Looney for also joining us. It's not drugs and it's not alcohol, but it might as well be, because gambling has become the drugless addiction. The teenagers are doing, and they're doing it everywhere. Recent studies indicate that 7 million teenagers, or 1 in 4 nationwide, are currently gambling, and 1 million of those are at risk to become compulsive gamblers in the future. We urge you, anyone out there, if you think you have a problem or a friend who has a problem, please seek out someone, a teacher, a counselor, a high school coach. Talk to them. If you can't talk to them, then please call the number of compulsive gamblers. It's 1-800-GAMBLER. And we're going to flash that up there, 1-800-GAMBLER. I want to thank everyone for being with us, and until we meet next time, good night.
You're watching Catholic Magazine. Thank you, Lord, for thy bountiful gifts from nature. Let's continue our prayer with a Psalm of Florida.
Praise to you, Lord God, for the clear blue morning sky, for the sun's gleaming path on the quiet sea, for motionless pelicans adrift above the grey gulls, flocked on the cool sands. Praise to you, Lord, for the day's first small clouds, white gardenias of the sky. Praise to you, Lord, for orange trees, dark green armies watching our roads, for stately slash pines and leafy oaks, knob-kneed cypress, brown-bearded palms, for long-necked egrets lonely beside the canal or herding cattle in swampy fields, for wide-jawed gators lazy on the muddy shore. Praise to you, Lord, for the afternoon clouds, great-sailed flotilla crowding the skies, followed by dark galleons that erupt with thunder and fire and pour down silver-gray turns. Praise to you, Lord, for the white, full moon casting pale light on a magic world of silence and peace. Praise to you, Lord, for children asleep in mother's arms, riding daddy's shoulders, tear-streaked, squealing with laughter. Praise to you, Lord, for young people, our only tomorrow. Praise to you, Lord, for all my brothers and sisters, for their laughter and tears, which are my laughter and tears, for their cross, the one cross, your cross, humanity, which you bore, and they bear, and I bear, all together, you said. Praise to you, Lord, for your love, falling out of sunlight and rain, mysterious as night, laughing in the leaves, strange as gators and egrets, given and hidden in my brothers and sisters. Praise for the love that burns in all things. Praise for the love that was and is, and forever will be. Amen.
As we near the annual day set aside for Thanksgiving, let us not take things like nature and our fellow man for granted. Let us be grateful for God's gifts.
Hear, hear. And
Okay.
it's coming up. It's coming up real soon.
Real soon, and our birthdays.
That's right. Oh, November is a great month.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all for us this week. Enjoy your day, the rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. I'm Pat Shelton.
And I'm Paul Perello. Until next week for Catholic Magazine, have a great week, and we'll see you right here.
Good night.
Good night.
We welcome your comments, suggestions, and donations and encourage you to write us at Catholic Magazine, St. Charles Seminary, 1000 East Wynwood Road, Overbrook, PA, 19096, or call us during regular business hours at 668-9842. SEP materials for Catholic Magazine provided by Tague Lumber Incorporated, serving the Delaware Valley for over 75 years. And by John Wanamaker, fine stores in the Delaware Valley. Legacy with C. Adrian Murphy is brought to you through the courtesy of the Joseph Grayton Institute at Old St. Joseph's National Shrine.